So in this video I'm going to be analysing a few different concepts that I picked up from both the first and second leg of United's League Cup Finals semi-final victory over Nottingham Forest. With this analysis really looking at how Ten Hag is evolving the possession system and making it even better and harder for teams to play against and try to nullify. So we'll start with the first leg, and United were able to open the scoring early inside the first 6 minutes with Marcus Rashford's goal, but whilst it was without doubt a goal stemming from Rashford's individual brilliance, it really was a tremendously well worked team and system goal. So in the first leg, Forest were using a 4-4-2 diamond system with Morgan Gibbs-White playing in behind Surridge and Brennan Johnson, and we can see here earlier on in the game that Forest are attempting to press United aggressively, high up the pitch in their defensive third, as Johnson is confronting Lisandro Martinez with United having the ball on the left side of the field. Now initially Forest do an excellent job, as it seems like all of Lisandro Martinez's passing options are closed off, with Surridge close to Lindelof on the right, ready to initiate pressure as soon as a pass goes back across the box, and Morgan Gibbs-White is successfully cutting off the passing lane into Casemiro by positioning himself in front of the Brazilian, and Brennan Johnson is in close proximity to Martinez, applying pressure. However, in this situation we really see the value of having a good ball playing centre back, who's not just good on the ball in terms of his passing and vision, but also composed when under pressure. And so rather than panicking as say maybe Harry Maguire or Eric Bailly would have done in this position last season, Martinez doesn't rush and instead looks to change the angle of a potential pass by coming across onto the right side, and ahead of him Casemiro does exactly what I think is McTominay's biggest weakness in that deep central midfield position, and something that's held United back for years prior to Ten Hag coming in, and that is that Casemiro makes a movement to open up a passing lane for the player on the ball. Now before the pass goes into Casemiro, we can see that Aurier, the Forest right back, has pushed very high up the pitch, keeping the press compact by man-to-man pressing Malacia in this deep position on United's left. But because United are able to play through Forest's frontline press, taking Gibbs-White, Johnson and Surridge out of the game, when Casemiro receives the ball from Martinez and is able to turn out with the ball, Aurier is now too wide and deep to be able to move to Casemiro to continue the pressure, but also now has vacated a massive space in behind him down the left flank where Marcus Rashford is sitting, and Casemiro sees this and finds a pass into his feet. And so when Rashford receives the ball on the left flank, it's Remo Freuler in the centre who is forced to come over and confront Rashford. But because Aurier has been caught high up the pitch in the press, Rashford's able to carry the ball forward, and then because his confidence is up from his recent form, he is decisive with his dribbling. Maybe if this is last season, Rashford sees these two oncoming players, turns and looks for a pass backwards to retain possession, but here he drives through the gap between Freuler and Worrell and manages to burst through into the box, and from here his ability to adjust his feet, manoeuvre the ball onto his left foot and finish is absolutely fantastic, finishing off a fantastic team goal, playing out of pressure with a piece of individual brilliance. And this goal all stemmed from Ten Hag's side not rushing when under pressure in the build-up phase, and knowing that just because all options are being blocked off doesn't mean you cannot play through the press. You simply need players who are comfortable on the ball and can adjust their passing angle, as well as players in front who have the reading of the game to move away from opposition pressers and open up new passing lanes. The second United goal in the first leg was once again a goal that showcased just how much United have improved in the build-up phase under Ten Hag. At the start of the season against Brighton and Brentford, United were having all sorts of issues trying to play out of their defensive third against aggressive man-to-man presses, and they paid for it heavily. However, now not only does each individual player look a lot more comfortable in possession in these pressurised situations, but the movement of players ahead is also so well coordinated that it becomes incredibly hard for the opposition to continue to cut off every passing lane available. Here as Lisandro Martinez has the ball in pretty much the same position where the first goal stemmed from, you can see that Surridge is applying pressure and Gibbs-White and Johnson are both man-to-man pressing Malacia and Casemiro. As the ball goes back to David De Gea, pretty much all of these short passing options are being closely man-to-man pressed, with Johnson on Malacia, Surridge on Martinez, Gibbs-White cutting the passing lane to Casemiro and Freuler on Eriksen, and slightly higher up on the right side out of picture, Gustavo Scarpa is ready to press Wan-Bissaka if David De Gea plays that pass into him here. But rather than just going for a long hoof upfield, as he may have done earlier on in the season and conceding possession, David De Gea instead looks for a pass splitting Scarpa and Gibbs-White into Antony, whose movement from a wide position on the right flank into this central position has created this passing lane for David De Gea, with Forest midfield pushing up high, and it's the main thing which allows United to play out of this press. Had he held a static position on the flank, De Gea has no passing options between Scarpa and Gibbs-White, and so like with Casemiro opening up the passing lane behind Gibbs-White for Martinez for the first goal, Antony's movement here is what allows United to go from their defensive third under pressure to having the ball in the middle third, with 4 or 5 Forest players taken out of the game higher up the pitch. And this is a perfect example of the benefit of playing out from the back even under pressure. And from here we see another piece of movement which is integral to the build up of this goal, and that is Bruno Fernandes' starting run forward, which isn't to receive the ball but instead to drag Danilo, the defensive midfielder, backwards away from this zone, opening up the space for Casemiro, who's moved off of Gibbs-White to run into, and Antony finds him. Bruno Fernandes' run essentially clears a path in the centre of the pitch for Casemiro to then drive the ball up the pitch, progressing the ball into the final third, from where Antony backs up the play, making a movement into that central position on the edge of the box, and after Casemiro plays a pass inside, Antony's touch sets him up for the volley, which is saved but only parried into the path of Weghorst, who like any good centre forward has the poacher instinct to react first and put United 2-0 up. And so now within the first quarter of the tie, we've seen United completely carve Forest open, starting from the build-up and playing through what was actually a pretty well coordinated aggressive press. It's just that United's individual movement and ball playing ability makes it incredibly hard for teams to continuously do this throughout a match and not eventually get played through. And the effect of United showcasing their ability to play out even when Forest pressed them man to man was that in the second leg Steve Cooper retracted the press completely, being a lot more passive and essentially allowing United to walk the ball out of their defensive third, from where they would meet Nottingham Forest, sitting in a narrow compact 4-2-3-1 in the middle third, allowing United to shift from their 2-3-2-3 build-up shape that we see them use to that familiar 3-1-6 shape higher up the pitch, consisting of a back three involving Martinez, Varane, and really any other player from Fred, Fernandes, Wan-Bissaka or even Casemiro, and a single pivot sitting in front, which most of the time is Casemiro or maybe Fred. Having to break down compact defensive units who sit off them in the build-up phase is something that United are going to have to deal with more and more, which is a testament to Ten Hag and how he's improved United in possession. But as we've seen before, United's most effective way of attacking is when the attack is progressed quickly after a turnover. Here we see that the Forest attack breaks down in the middle of United's half and the ball finds its way to Bruno Fernandes, and from here he instantly looks for a quick vertical pass forward, breaking the lines of the Forest midfield, and Weghorst plays a row of a deeper lying forward perfectly, dropping off and dragging the centre back with him, and with one touch he's able to link the play with a well weighted touch into the path of Fred. And on the far left side, Garnacho holds his width, stretching the pitch by dragging Nico Williams out wide, and Fred is able to shift the ball over to Garnacho, and now United in a matter of seconds have gone from winning the ball in their own half to setting up a 1v1 for Garnacho close to the edge of the Forest box. Now in this game United did dominate, and there were a few interesting patterns of play regarding the fluidity of the 3-1-6 possession shape, but I am planning to do a full video explaining the system, and so I'm going to analyse the main parts of this tie. And really United controlled the game because they were 3-0 up already, and so their first goal, the fourth in the tie, came just after the 70th minute mark, and it stemmed from Casemiro not once but twice being the player in the middle of the park to just always be in the right place at the right time to make a challenge or interception, both of which he does in the lead up to this goal. And then after intercepting Bolly's pass, he plays the ball, releasing Martial, and for some reason Bolly dives in and completely misses the ball, but whatever, he's on the floor, and now United have a perfect counter-pressing situation where they've won the ball back in the middle of the pitch and now have Martial running with the ball with Fernandes and Rashford making runs either side of him, and he picks a right pass at the right time. And to be fair, McKenna makes a fantastic block tackle on Rashford to deny what almost certainly would have been another goal for him, but the ball falls into the path of Martial and his finish is clinical. Now this game was obviously already done and dusted by the time Fred added the second, but there were a lot of interesting things that we did see in this game that we couldn't really see in detail, but they were more hints at what Ten Hag could potentially do in the future. The first was a bit more obvious. It was the use of Weghorst inside of the box. We've seen Weghorst being used as a player to link the attack like Martial does, essentially being a wall for deeper United midfielders to bounce a ball off. But in the first half we saw a Casemiro cross that allowed Weghorst to show his understanding of where he should position himself between the two defenders on the far post, being very intelligent staying on side. side, and this is definitely something that will aid United in games where teams sit deep and United are forced to try to break them down in and around the box. Weghorst didn't score, but he did hit the post, and that was United's best chance up until the first goal. We also saw when Sancho, Rashford and Martial came on, around the 60th minute mark, that Sancho was actually being used as one of the free eights, with Bruno Fernandes being moved into that wider right position, and this is something I've wanted Ten Hag to try. You can check out my video where I analyse why I think Sancho is better used in a central position as a kind of Mezzala. I did put that video out around a month ago, so I will leave it linked in the description. Along with Sancho, we also saw Lindelof being used as a number 6 in Casemiro's place. And so there are two new positional evolutions that we saw from Ten Hag in this game, but because of the state of the game and how long both players were utilised there for, I do think it's a bit premature for me to fully assess their performances in these new roles. However, we did see Luke Shaw being used as a centre back after initially being tested there, so hopefully we see both Lindelof and Sancho being utilised in these new roles in future games, and that way I can do a full assessment of them. So overall, two very impressive, astute and pretty comfortable victories over Nottingham Forest, taking United to the final against Newcastle and giving Ten Hag the opportunity of claiming his first piece of silverware. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of the tie in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notified when my videos come out. Give the video a like, check the description for more videos, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well for more content.